Okay, looks like we're live. Hey everybody. While we're waiting for folks to join, you can help bring people here by posting the link to this video using the share button, and make sure you use the hashtag #MoveToAmend when you do that. You can also tag your friends in the comments and say something so that I know you're here, and we'll get started in just a little bit. I see that people are joining, so welcome to the folks who are here, and let me know that you are by making a comment and saying hey, letting me know where you're calling from, and please share this video on your own wall by using the share button and use the hashtag #MoveToAmend, because if you do, we will give you an opportunity to win some prizes. Maybe I'll mention those right now while we're waiting for folks to join. I see Shelly and James. Welcome. So we're going to give away 2 prizes this time to 2 different people who share the link and use the hashtag #MoveToAmend. So one is a water bottle, which we've been giving away the last couple months. It's still pretty hot here in Sacramento, and so it's summer in a lot of places still, and it's hotter than it's ever been, actually. So water bottle apropos. But we also have another option too, which is one of our stamps that says not to be used for bribing politicians, and we use those to stamp our money. I don't know how well this is showing up. So you can see my $1 says not to be used for bribing politicians, movetoamend.org, and so that's our second prize that we'd be happy to give to somebody who shares the link using the hashtag #MoveToAmend. Hey Doug, nice to see you. Feel free to say hello and let me know where you're tuning in from, because it's always nice to hear that. So welcome everyone to the August edition of #MoveToAmend's monthly live stream, the #MoveToAmend Report. This is the place where you can hear the latest about what's going down in the movement to amend the U.S. Constitution to legalize democracy. I'm your host, Caitlin Saposi-Belknap, #MoveToAmend's National Director. And as always, you can find us here on the 4th Wednesday of every month at 5 o'clock Pacific, right here on Facebook Live. And want to thank Garrett, who is our online communications coordinator, who will be running the comments. So if you have questions, he can help answer them. And he'll also be sharing links that I reference. So tune into those. Be sure to like this video. Be sure to comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Say hello. Make sure to share it and use the hashtag #MoveToAmend, and you can be eligible for winning one of our prizes at the end of the night. You can also tag your friends right in the comments as well, and that will give them an alert if you know of somebody in particular who you think should come and join us. Tell us where you're tuning in from, and if you have any questions, we'll answer them in real time. We always give out free merchandise at the end of the show, so share this live feed on your walls using the hashtag #MoveToAmend, and this month we'll pick 2 lucky winners to get a free #MoveToAmend water bottle, and somebody else to get a stamp that says not to be used for bribing politicians, that we use to stamp our money. So you can stay hydrated in this heat and share this post, or you can help spread the word in a fun way by getting a stamp. But you've got to share and use the hashtag #MoveToAmend. We'll announce the winners at the end. So let's get right into it. It's been a busy month for us here at #MoveToAmend. As you know, we've had a surge of new representatives sign on to become co-sponsors of the We the People Amendment, or House Joint Resolution 48 in the House of Representatives, after our leadership summit that we had in June and a lobby day. We brought on a bunch of new co-sponsors, but we still need to keep the momentum going. 61 co-sponsors is our current tally. That's well past our 2018 goal, but we can't stop now. There's no reason to stop. There's still plenty more people in Congress, hundreds, literally. So let's keep going. And the midterm elections are a perfect time to get support right away, but also to plant seeds for the future, which is why we're ramping up our Pledge to Amend campaign to get as many candidates who are running for local, state, and federal office to take a pledge to use their office to support the movement to make clear that corporations are not people and money is not speech. So we do Pledge to Amend actually every year, but obviously in midterm year like this, there's even more people running for office. So we just sent letters to every single person who's running for Congress and Senate, all the incumbents as well as all the challengers. And we're encouraging grassroots folks to follow up on those letters, contact your candidates for House and U.S. House and U.S. Senate, and encourage them to follow through and take the pledge. But also remember that almost all candidates that you know on the national level at this point started their political careers locally in some form, lots of times in the state legislature. So don't ignore those state candidates as well as the local ones. Your current state reps and senators are the ones who are most likely to be serving at the federal level in years to come, and we know that the move to amend is a longer-term campaign. This Congress is not going to pass our amendment, so we need to plant seeds for the future. And the sooner we introduce these folks to move to amend, the better position we'll be in the future. We can help explain this issue, get them on board, help them become champions right now. So if you've got folks who are running for city council in your community, they are great candidates to take the pledge. If you've got folks running for district attorney in your state or in your county, those are great folks to take the pledge. Governor, any level of state office, any level of municipal office, and of course everyone who's running for Congress. So Garrett will share a link to the Pledge to Amend page down below in the comments for easy reference, and you can find a whole bunch of resources there on that page to help you connect. The pledge is available right online, so that's a link that you can share with candidates. If you know anyone running for office, if you yourself are running for office, please make sure this becomes part of the conversation of their campaigns. And don't forget that there's a component of Pledge to Amend that includes all of us, even if we're not running for office, which is the voter pledge. So a reminder that we all need to take the pledge, and the pledge for voters is that we're not going to support candidates for office who don't take the Pledge to Amend and support the movement to amend. This needs to become a litmus test issue for people who are running for office, and really it connects to almost everything. So it's not something obscure or random or out of touch with pretty much any community. It's important that we make this a campaign issue, and we make sure that candidates know that if they want to get our vote, they need to pledge to amend. And everybody can let your candidates know that they can take the pledge by sharing that link. And when they do, we let folks know who's taken the pledge on our website, on social media. And as we get closer to Election Day, we'll be putting out, a voter guide state by state to say, here's the responses to the pledge, here are the folks who said no, and here are the folks who said yes, so that everyone can vote accordingly. So big thanks to our affiliate groups and volunteers from Alaska all the way down to Florida who are keeping the issues of corporate power front and center by participating in Pledge to Amend. We have 145 candidates who have already pledged. Our goal for the year is 300, so we still got a ways to go, but a lot of elections are just getting started, and now's the perfect time to plug in with Pledge to Amend. Some other kind of points just on the amendment in Congress that we'll have some big news coming up. I know we've been saying that for a while, but we've been having lots of meetings and conversations happening behind the scenes regarding our work in the House of Representatives as well as the U.S. Senate, and that's where we're going to see some big breakthroughs coming up really soon. I'm really excited to tell you, but I can't spill the beans yet. But a hint is that it hasn't been introduced in the Senate yet. Our amendment hasn't been introduced in the Senate yet, but I think we're close to breaking through on that goal, and we'll let you know soon how you can help with that. And then in the House of Representatives, our current lead and our representative that we've been working with all along since getting it introduced in Congress 5 years ago. Rick Nolan will be retiring at the end of this year. He's not running for re-election, and so we're going to be introducing you all to the new lead very soon as well. So just know we've been working really, really hard, and sorry we can't make it public yet, but we will very soon, and it'll all be really exciting, I promise. In the meantime, you can keep calling your senators, and if your representative in the House is not yet a co-sponsor, then call them and let them know that you need them to come on. And again, like I said at the beginning, it is an election year. They're kind of primed to pay more attention to voters in this moment, and so let's not waste that opportunity. Let's make sure that our representatives, as well as the people who are challenging them for office, know about this issue, and our representatives get the opportunity to come on as co-sponsors right now as they're trying to earn our votes and prove that they're on our team rather than on corporate America's team. So stay tuned in the coming weeks for new updates on all of this by following us on Instagram, Twitter, and right here on Facebook. We'll let you know the big news as soon as we can. Just a reminder that it really helps if you share the link to this video, so post it on your wall, use the hashtag #MoveToAmend, and 2 folks who do that, one will get one of our water bottles sporting our logo, and the other will get a stamp that not to be used to bribe politicians, and we use that to stamp all of our money here at the office. I do this with my money as well, and then I try to make sure that whenever I go out to eat, I tip in cash so that I'm spreading the word about Move to Amend when I'm out and about. So everybody can do this, and the best way to get started is to get a stamp. So share this video and use the hashtag Move to Amend, and you might just get one for free. Hey, Gus from Everett, Pennsylvania. Nice to see you. Feel free to also say hello if you're here, and remember that you can always post your questions, and I'll answer them while we're on the video, while I'm here live. If you're listening to the recording, you can still post your questions, and we will post a comment and answer them as best we can. This month in corporate rule, kind of the big news that we wanted to share, make sure everybody heard this, is that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, reverses a ban that they had set for themselves on fossil fuel donations. They had pledged not to take donations from fossil fuel companies in their platform. They decided this month that they're going to reverse that and gladly accept fossil fuel contributions. Obviously, not every Democratic candidate is in this position. They each decide for themselves, but the party itself has decided that it's actually not going to be a problem to take money from fossil fuel companies. And that's in the midst of California's, and actually now as we have gotten later into the week, we're looking at Washington and Oregon as well. So basically the entire West is in our worst fire season ever in the history of human beings documenting fires. Unfortunately, it's a perfect example of corporate rule. I hope you heard about the DNC reversal. It's so frustrating because, I don't know about you, but I always felt like, well, maybe when we get to the point where it's climate change is so certain that, the world is literally on fire, that maybe we would wake up and realize that we can't keep throwing carbon in the air and supporting the fossil fuel industry, who have known for a generation that their practices were bringing us closer and closer to climate devastation through climate change. But here in this country, that's not how we roll. We're just going to proceed as always. We have experienced the biggest fire in the history of California, just a little bit northwest of where I live. I live in Sacramento, California. We've been in the smoke for now weeks. I saw an article this morning that in Seattle, breathing the air today was the equivalent of smoking 7 cigarettes because the air quality is so bad because of fires up there. And it's still August. We're not expected to begin our rainy season in California until normally like October. So we still have another month on the west here of very dry conditions, and most importantly, the hottest temperatures we've ever seen And firefighters across the state have talked about how that's the biggest challenge when they're fighting these fires, is that the base temperature is so high. Even though it's only just a couple degrees, that makes just such a huge difference. And then we've also seen drought, which is also exacerbated by climate change as well. So these fires have been burning for weeks. They're not very close to being contained, and who knows when the next ones will come up. And all in the middle of all this happening and it being in national news, and the fires in California and Washington and Oregon as well now are just part of a story of fires all around the world. So this is something that, certainly I've seen. It's not like anybody doesn't know this, I guess, is my point. And in the middle of all that, Democrats, who are supposedly the opposition party against a fascist president and a party that has backtracked on basically all environmental commitments, the Republicans and Trump, and the Democrats are supposed to be the alternative to that. And they themselves are backtracking on their ban on fossil fuel donations and basically saying, we welcome the fossil fuel industry to basically have a hold on us and tell us what to do. So, what the heck? So please let us know your thoughts on this. I know when we posted this, some people were a little bit defensive and were like, no, not all Democrats. And yeah, but the party itself is who sets the tone. And it's very dangerous, we think, to fall into, yes, perhaps the Republicans are more entrenched with corporations on the whole, but as far as we're concerned, anybody who is cozying up to multi-million-dollar corporations that are already in the business of running our government should be suspect and should be called out, and it doesn't matter what party they're in. It doesn't matter whether they're a little bit better in maybe a number of ways. It's too dire. Literally, my state is on fire, and we are letting things burn and pretending to look the other way and allowing the industry that are responsible for this to rule the day. So this is corporate rule. This is proof that our leaders prioritize money. They love money. Maybe not just even just love money, but how they literally rely on big corporate money to win elections. And at the end of the day, that's the bottom line, which is exactly why we need the We the People Amendment, right? So let's let whatever party we belong to know that this is not okay with us. Let's support candidates who take the pledge to amend and who don't take money from either fossil fuel giants or corporate money in general, corporate PACs. And let's vote accordingly so that they know that when we tell them this matters to us, they actually feel the effects of that. So let's see, Sandy Lee Shirley, nice to see you. Sounds like maybe there was too much sharing, or I'm not totally sure, but I'm sorry that you got blocked. Hey, Shannon, nice to see you. Shannon's one of our former interns. And let's see, Alfonso, nice to see you as well. Feel free to say hey to me, and I'll give you a shout out. And also a reminder that we really need you to help spread the word by sharing this video and let your friends know about the movement to amend and your support for it. And as a thank you for doing that, we'll pick 2 people who share this video and use the hashtag #MoveToAmend. And we'll give one of them one of these water bottles, and another one of you one of these not to be used for bribing politicians stamps that you can use to stamp your money and help spread the word, but also be a little bit renegade with your dollars. So please help us spread the word. And if you've got any questions or comments about what I'm talking about, please post them, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you and or answer your questions. If you're listening to the recording, then we will answer your questions in the comments, but we will not leave any comment unnoted. So feel free to let us know what's on your mind or what you've been wondering about as far as Move to Amend is concerned. Also this month in corporate rule, and heading into next month as well, Kavanaugh hearings start September 4th, the day after Labor Day. Like basically everyone else, our focus has to be on this Supreme Court fight because Donald Trump, a president who not only lost the popular vote, but also is under investigation for collusion with a foreign government, and, day by day, more and more, shenanigans, has announced that Brett Kavanaugh is his second appointment to the Supreme Court, and hearings are scheduled to start on September 4th. If Kavanaugh is confirmed, which honestly is most likely going to happen, since Democratic leadership seems pretty unwilling to pull out any big guns, and Republican leadership seems very happy to ramrod this through, despite the fact that they pulled all the stops to stop Obama's nomination. So Kavanaugh is unfortunately looking somewhat likely, right? And that will immediately endanger the hard-won rights that we have been struggling for and dying for potentially over hundreds of years, and expand rights for corporations undemocratically, and really cement a racist, sexist, classist ideology on the whole list of issues for at least a generation, if not longer. So this is really scary. We're very concerned and worried about a Kavanaugh appointment. And so the court in the last 2 months alone, just to kind of remind us of how important the Supreme Court is, has consistently ruled in favor of corporations over those of people, and it's going to get worse if Kavanaugh is appointed. The court, before Kavanaugh, assaulted worker rights to organize public sector unions. They stripped power of employees to bring forth class action lawsuits against corporate abuses. They supported states in voter suppression by allowing states to purge legal voters from their rolls if people hadn't voted in the last few elections. And they supported the so-called First Amendment right of anti-abortion groups to give biased medical information to pregnant women. And Brett Kavanaugh has shown that he opposes net neutrality regulations. He is very much in favor of expanding the powers of the executive, and is extremely supportive of corporate rights and or so-called rights and corporate power in general. The extreme right-wing court has shown time and again that they believe corporate rights are more important than human rights. It's almost like the U.S. Constitution was written as a property rights document where African Americans were considered 3/5 of the person, and the 14th Amendment not only applies to human beings but also corporations like ExxonMobil. Oh wait, that is already how it is, even before Kavanaugh. So we can't let it get worse. If the Supreme Court won't end corporate constitutional rights, which we know they won't, then we have to take this issue out of their hands completely with the 28th Amendment, and it really begs the question, should Kavanaugh get appointed? Perhaps we actually need to look even further into other constitutional amendment proposals to secure our rights. For example, a constitutional right to vote, which would make it much, much harder, if not impossible, for states to disenfranchise students, older folks, and Black and brown voters, which they are regularly doing. But if we had if it was written into the Constitution that we actually had a right to vote, that would be a lot harder for the Supreme Court to kind of carve out opportunities for states to disenfranchise voters. For example, right? So in some ways, there may be an opportunity, certainly if Kavanaugh is appointed, we don't all go home and just say, okay, we lost, and move to amend. We'll be looking for ways to operate on a different front entirely, and perhaps we need to take more and more of this whole issue out of the hands of the courts. I did see just today a poll that now at this point the majority of Americans support term limits for Supreme Court justices, and that might make a lot of sense. Let's see, what else do we want to point out here? As far as corporate constitutional rights goes, and this was true obviously with the court that we had before Kavanaugh, they're the ones who brought us Citizens United, and again before even any of Trump's picks were on there. And so the court has been expanding corporate rights in years recently, and they will continue to do that. So an amendment becomes an even more clear only solution to make our voice known in terms of what we want, how we want the Constitution to be interpreted, and who the Constitution should protect above everything else, which is human beings, not corporations. So the president's not going to side with us. honestly, no matter which party is in charge on that, the courts won't side with us. We have to make Congress and the state legislature side with us. Those are the most, I know that sounds like hard in and of itself, but think about it. That's actually, there is still some democratic accountability if we can exercise our power and build that mass movement for justice and human rights and democracy. So that's what we have to continue to do. Move to Amend has been working on that for 8 years, but we need your help and we need you to be involved. So please share this video, but also take a look at our volunteer page. Maybe Garrett can share that link, movetoamend.org/volunteer, and let us know if you'd like to get involved. Let's see, Bridget, new to Move to Amend, first heard of this just now and loving this idea. Yay! Welcome, great to see you. It would be great if you want to sign up to volunteer. If you do that, even if you don't know what you want to do yet, you can just fill out the form, let us know maybe some of your interests or skills or background, and then one of our awesome interns will give you a call and begin the process to plug you in. So, we actually have a very small team relative to what we're trying to do, but we know that the way to build a movement is through real live relationships, face-to-face, and so whenever possible, or at least by phone. So we make a point to do that. We also call every single person who donates to us. And so Move to Amend is a very different national organization than a lot of those that you'll find out there. And a reminder that if you've got any questions, you can post them in the comments, and I'd love to answer your questions. Garrett is helping me with that as well. And if you share this video, 2 folks who do that will win a prize as a thank you for helping to spread the word. One of our water bottles we're offering up, and also one of our not to be used for bribing politicians stamps that we use to stamp our money to help spread the word. We actually had an intern come and join our team because her husband brought home one of these bills that somebody had given him at work. And so you never know where it'll go, and it's an easy way to help spread the word, and it's pretty fun too. I want to acknowledge our affiliates, our grassroots folks who are really the ones who are doing the work of building the movement in their communities all over this country. That's the best way to get involved, is to start an affiliate in your area or get plugged in if there's already one there near you. So a big thanks to all of our affiliates and all the unaffiliated volunteers who participated in film screenings of this new documentary Dark Money that's out. Folks in Santa Clara, California, Utah, Montana, Portland, Oregon, Salem, Oregon, High Desert Move to Amend, which is in Boise, Idaho, and Delray Beach, Florida, all participated in screenings of this film, brought in new folks. Shout out to Move to Amend Utah for collaborating with their local public TV station to set up screenings and panel discussions for the film in 6 different communities across Utah. That's awesome. Also, our volunteers in Nevada County, California, just neighbors to me in Sacramento here, tabled at the Nevada County Fair. They met with dozens of people over the past 5 days and collected over 150 petition signatures, also a number of postcards that they sent to our senators to urge them to introduce our amendment in the U.S. Senate. Shout out to Wayne citizens supporting democracy in the Hansdale, Pennsylvania area, for performing the Corporation Plus Human wedding skit at their local steampunk festival. They had 5 performances there that were well received. We have a skit that some of our other affiliates put together about, if a corporation is a person, then maybe we should start marrying them. Maybe they'd give us some health care. They put on that skit, and sounds like they were quite popular and well received, so way to go to our folks in Hansdale and Wayne County. And a shout out to Jefferson County Move to Amend, which is in Port Townsend, Washington, for their work bringing the corporate personhood timeline to Kitsap County. So great work over this last month. That just gives you a sense of what some of our groups out there are doing. This is an ongoing campaign, and most Americans don't know that we exist because we're seldom covered on corporate media, unfortunately. And, we don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend on Facebook ads and TV ads and things like that. So it's mostly, word of mouth and organizing that gets the word out to folks. You sharing news about Move to Amend to your community makes a really big difference. And a lot of the work that our affiliates do is actually education and movement building. Like, yes, we lobby Congress and we train people on how to do that, but really what's going to make the difference, what's going to make it possible to amend the Constitution isn't just having the only way to get the majority, the 2/3 majority of both houses of Congress that we're going to need is to build a movement that's powerful and organized, cohesive, that this becomes part of, everyone's everyday understanding. Most Americans believe that corporations should not have constitutional rights that human beings have. So we've got that already covered. Polling has shown that 80% of Americans agree with this campaign. They don't necessarily know it exists, but if they agree that the Supreme Court shouldn't have given constitutional rights to corporations. We have run ballot initiatives all across the country that win overwhelmingly as another way to prove and show that everyday Americans, no matter what kind of communities we're talking about, rural, urban, conservative, liberal, older people, younger people, doesn't really matter. Everyone agrees, but cutting through that wall that the corporate media kind of puts up to telling stories like Move to Amend is, a big hindrance for us. And so getting out there at our community events and letting people know about Move to Amend is a really important way to spread the word. And even if there's not a Move to Amend group near you, you can help by sharing the petition with your friends. Maybe, Garrett, you can share that link, movetoamend.org/motion, for the motion to amend, and invite your friends to join us. And another way you can help is that we need your support as a financial donor. Everybody who works on the national team donates monthly to support the campaign. I give $28 a month to support the 28th Amendment, which is what Move to Amend's amendment will be. But you can chip in whatever you can afford. Even $5 a month helps us out so much. And we're in a really big push now. We sort of realized that the most effective way for us to be a sustainable organization is to rely on these smaller donations from thousands and thousands of folks. And so we're really trying to ask anyone and everyone who believes in this cause to pitch in monthly at whatever level works for you. And so please consider that and join us, and then encourage your friends to do the same, because if we all do that, we actually we'll have what we need to be a sustainable organization to carry through and win this campaign. So coming up in September, we've already mentioned Pledge to Amend, but I'm going to mention it again because this is our big campaign for the fall, heading into those November elections. They're pretty huge. It's what everyone's talking about. It's critical we get every candidate on record with their position on corporate personhood and money in politics. So this is the perfect time to get your campaign going. Or for Pledge to Amend and targeting candidates for office. Garrett's going to share the link where you can find all the materials on our website to get started with Pledge to Amend. We also do speaking tours across the country. We call them Barnstorming Tours in the tradition of the populist movement, which is sort of the last most powerful democratic movement in our country's history, which most people don't know that much about, but they traveled the country actually in wagons and horses and walking, and did talks in communities all over, especially the West, but all over the country, spreading the word about how at that time railroad companies and big banks were ruling the day, and the populist movement was the response. So we take inspiration from the populists, and we have our own Barnstorming Tours. Our outreach director, Greg, will be in Indiana and Southern Illinois and Missouri and Kansas next month in September. And our experienced and acclaimed speakers travel across the country, spreading the word about the campaign, inspiring action, getting new groups started. And we'd be happy to come to your community if you'd like to bring us. We're setting our schedule for 2019, and so now is a great time to get started exploring whether you'd like to bring a Move to Amend speaker to your community. Our goals with the Barnstorming Tours are to educate and inspire action and identify local organizers, even if you've never been an organizer before, to start Move to Amend affiliate groups. And the events are free and open to the public, and everyone is welcome, and they're very educational, but also inspiring. I'll be doing a Barnstorming tour in Minnesota in October, and then Greg will be in Northern Illinois and Iowa in October as well. So if you're in any of those states, stay tuned to our Facebook page because we'll be announcing the tour dates. You can also go to our website and movetoamend.org/barnstorming and see where we'll be. And if we're not coming to your community yet, then let us know if you'd like to have us come. Constitution Day is September 17th. Each year, educational institutions at the high school and college level that receive federal funding must provide programming on the U.S. Constitution in some way. It's really open-ended what needs to be done there. So this gives Move to Amend an opportunity to get into schools and make connections with educators and administrators and students. So we encourage Move to Amend supporters and our local affiliates to reach out to your contacts in schools if you're a teacher or you know a teacher, and see if you can either provide materials or present to students yourself. And we have educational materials that you can use. If you go to our Constitution Day page, which Garrett will share in the comments, you can learn more about it and find out how you could use those resources. And they're certainly available for use beyond just Constitution Day, but this is a really great opportunity. Most folks don't know that schools have to do this. A lot of schools and teachers are looking for an opportunity to outsource that programming. They always like to bring in speakers from outside or get inspiration and not have to think of something themselves because they're super busy and taxed, and it's always good to have something more creative and kind of outside the box for students. And so this affords us a great opportunity on September 17th and leading up to it. So check out our Constitution Day. And as I already said, in the near future, we'll have some exciting announcements about who will be our new champion in the House of Representatives next Congress. We have met our 2018 goal, as I said, for the number of co-sponsors, but we're still working on keeping the momentum up. Our current lead, Rick Nolan from Minnesota, who we've been working with for the past 5 years, is retiring at the end of this year. And we have already lined up a new sponsor, and we'll be able to announce who that is really soon. And actually, I will be in Washington, D.C. along with Salim, our legislative coordinator, next week, focusing mostly on introduction in the Senate. And I hope that we'll be able to announce the details of that super soon. That's our goal this year, to get it introduced in the Senate. And I hope we'll have some good news soon, but a reminder that our key targets, if you live in any of these states that I'm about to list, your senators, or at least one of them, is one of our key targets, and it's important that you be in touch with them and let them know that you'd like them to introduce and or co-sponsor as soon as we have our lead, our We the People amendment, so that we've got it in both the House and the Senate. Because remember that to amend the Constitution, we need to get 2/3 of both houses of Congress to pass our amendment, and then 3/4 of state legislatures need to pass the amendment, or 2/3 of state legislatures can call for a constitutional convention. But we're focusing right now on the Congress path, and so let's get it introduced in the Senate. That's our next big thing. So Maria Cantwell and Patty Murray in Washington, 2 of our targets. Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein here in California, 2 of our big targets. Jeff Merkley in Oregon. John Tester in Montana. Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. Tammy Duckworth in Illinois. Sherrod Brown in Ohio. Brian Schatz and Mazie Hirono in Hawaii. Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey in Massachusetts. Sheldon Whitehouse in Rhode Island, Bernie Sanders in Vermont, Cory Booker in New Jersey, and Susan Collins in Maine. And actually, I just realized that Amy Klobuchar and Tina Brown in Minnesota also should be on that list too, Garrett, when you post it. So those are our top targets. Obviously, we're going after, 2/3, but you got to start with at least one, right? And so these are folks that we've been in communication with for the last 2 years, working on getting this introduced in the Senate. We are very close, and your calls would make a really big difference. So please help us by contacting your senators. And like I said, we'll be in DC next week, meeting with almost every single one of these offices that I've mentioned. And so your calls are key right now and next week as well. So if you have not yet signed our petition, our motion to amend, you want to do that, because that's how you can get our emails, and we'll let you know how to make those calls and when to make those calls, among other things. That's how the best way to keep you posted. So a reminder again that we always share some merchandise. So the winner of the Move to Amend water bottle is Bridget Bjork Osborne. Congratulations. And the winner of the stamp is Sandy Lee Shirley. So send us a direct message on Facebook with your address, and we'll get that sent to you. Both of these, we'll send them out to you as soon as possible. So that brings me to the end of my report. Garrett, are there any questions? I haven't quite been able to kind of follow the comments exactly. So if there are questions, I missed them. So if you can make sure that I know them, that would be awesome. And if you haven't posted your question yet, but you have one, then go ahead and post it right now. I will stick around for a little bit just to make sure there's nothing that anybody wants to ask. Would love to answer your questions. And of course, if you're tuning into the recording, you can post your question and we will answer it in the comments just as soon as we see it. And our next report, while we're waiting to see if there's anything anybody wants to know, is September 26th. We always are here on the 4th Wednesday of the month at 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 Mountain, 7 Central, and 8 o'clock Eastern. Looks like I'm hearing from Garrett that there are no questions, so last opportunity, if anybody has any questions. Congratulations again to Bridget and to Sandy, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks to all of you who shared the video, and make sure you sign up next time and get alerted when we go live. I'd love to see you again. I do see one question from Tucker that just came in. So this is a single issue group to end corporate personhood. Move to Amend is a campaign to build a movement to what we say legalize democracy and to make the promise of democracy real in this country. And our first step in doing that is the Move to Amend campaign, which is to pass the We the People Amendment to the Constitution to make clear that only human beings have constitutional rights, aka end corporate personhood, and also that money is not speech, meaning that campaign spending is not protected by the First Amendment, so that campaign spending can be regulated. So we are a single issue campaign, Move to Amend. Our bigger agenda is real democracy, but we see the amendment as a very important strategic and essential first step to that end of real democracy. And in fact, we feel as though it is the most strategic action to take in that direction. And if we can get corporations out of our government, then there's a whole host of other issues that we could actually address. Front and center in my mind right now is climate change, but there are others as well that are connected with corporate power. Almost every issue is. And until we get this amendment passed, it's going to be very hard to actually address these other issues. So that is, I hope, a good answer to your question. And if there is anything else, I'm going to add that for Garrett there. I'll stick around for just another sec and see. Otherwise, thank you everyone for joining me. And thanks Garrett for running the comments. And I look forward to seeing you guys next month on September 26th. Thanks for tuning in and have an awesome night. I think we are ready to close, except for that, let's see, I think I can do it from here. All right, good night everybody. Thanks again, Garrett, for your help. Bye.